Welcome to the Sweet Spot Podcast, a podcast that seeks to help you find your sweet spot when it comes to a variety of issues like relationships, finance, work, stress, fitness, and many other topics. I'm one of your hosts, Jeff Persichidi, along with Shah Punjani and CJ Jones. Now, on to the show. All right, gentlemen, welcome to another week of the Sweet Spot Podcast. How's it going?
It's going good. It's about to be Friday.
It's about to be Friday.
Sure is. Hey, this week going by fast.
And good music comes out tomorrow too. So
Who's
proud about that.
Who's coming up?
I don't forgot his name. West Side Gun. West Side Gun.
Oh, West Side Gun. Yeah, West Side Gun. Yep.
I don't even know who that is.
Been looking forward to that.
Do I?
All week.
I probably don't know him, huh?
Nah.
Okay. Good deal. You have to enlighten us. So what's up? Been a good week?
Yeah, so far.
I've been busy. Shaw just saved my life. I don't know if you guys know that. You know you saved my life today?
Oh.
Dude, I hadn't eaten all day, and you brought me some food, man. That was...
Yeah, I asked you midday, and I was like...
You didn't even ask me.
Because we were in his office. I was like, yo, are you going to eat before? He's like, man, I haven't really ate anything all day, but I'm not that hungry. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, and then like chicken nuggets showed up, and it was like, you saved my life. So...
We got some fries for you if you want.
Nah, I'm good, bro.
All right, so what are we doing here today, guys?
What are we talking about today?
Well, side hustle action.
Yeah.
I know I got a side hustle.
I think this is a cool topic because, you have a side hustle.
Yeah.
I think you used to have a side hustle, but I mean, we'll get more in depth about what it is now. Me, I can talk about my failures. You know, I've tried a couple of side hustles, so I think it'll be a good topic.
Yeah. So, what's the like? Okay, so you said you've had a couple, and then what got you started in the side hustle? Like, was it a conscious thing? You trying to make some money? Just trying to chase a passion? What were you doing?
I think for me, I've always had entrepreneurship in my blood. I was born into it. My family immigrated from Pakistan, and came to America from Chicago to Houston to Dallas, 80s, 90s to 2000s, and from ground up, just built a business. It wasn't necessarily a side hustle for them, but entrepreneurship in general. And so for me, I just took the normal route of getting a job and, trying out different side hustles.
Yeah, I think even, especially for the times that we're in now, you kind of have, not say you have to have a side hustle, but that's one of the things that's actually kind of become a norm. At least, people in our generation, like I can probably text whoever and they'll tell me, they're doing something else on the side or whatever the case may be. I think that's just kind of like a normal thing. Whereas before it was like you had your career and that was pretty much it. And you were pretty much set. Yeah,
actually, way back in the day, man, it was kind of frowned upon to have a side hustle. It was called moonlighting back then. But your boss would question your dedication to your job if you had something on the side. So you had to kind of keep it under wraps if you were doing something else besides your main job. Yeah.
But I mean, that kind of makes sense from a boss standpoint. Like, you want to make sure that the people that are working for you is giving everything, all their attention, all their, effort, their skill set, everything to the organization or the business. So that kind of makes sense.
If you got a book out of here, like right on the quit and whistle, and it's like, because I got to go to a podcast, I got to go to a job, I got to do something else. Right? I mean, they start to question your dedication to it.
What are you laughing at, bro? What are you laughing at?
Literally me today.
That's why I was laughing, because I know I do the same thing.
Yeah, I wasn't looking directly at anybody when I said it. But
funny.
Yeah, so it was back in the day. It was frowned upon. You had to kind of keep it under wraps. So, I personally had my side hustle for 17 years. So I had changed jobs, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like the new job. And I'd always wanted to. So I'm a photographer. Been shooting pictures since I was a little kid. My parents put a camera in my hand. And so I was like, I would like to figure out a way to make money taking pictures. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
But because I just changed jobs, I kind of, I wasn't fully entrenched in all the, you get kind of sucked in quickly into a job with all the details and the productivity, the emails, all that. And I had time. So I jumped into it, and 17 years later, still going strong.
Yeah. So what do you think is the reason why you haven't made it to like your main thing?
Why I haven't switched over?
Yeah.
A couple.
I'm interested because I understand why some people don't, even if it does make them a lot of money.
Yeah. So the first couple 3 years, it was building a business, and so right then you're not really making any money. Then you kind of, if you're doing well, you hit a stride, and then you do start to think about it, kind of like, okay, this is going well. Maybe I could jump and make it my main hustle. But in fact, 1 year my CPA was doing my taxes, and he's like, bro, like why are you not just going straight into photography and just doing that 100%? For me, I like having a job that has insurance, 401k, benefits. Also, I don't want to get geeky with taxes, but you get double taxed on like Social Security when you're self-employed, and a lot of those things don't happen when you have, I'll call it a regular job. So there were tax benefits to having a regular job. There were health benefits, and if I was only responsible for me, I'd have done it for sure. But when you have a wife and kids, you feel responsible not to bail on some of those things that you really kind of need to support a family. So I think that was the main thing. Plus, I like it being a side hustle. I like not living and dying by that sword. That business can be feast or famine. You can be super busy, and then there can be times where you're like, oh my God, I think it's over. So and that's just kind of volatile, and I that's not something I want to.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, the whole, insurance and stuff like that, because that was one of the things, like I had started my organization right after I came back from college from playing basketball. And that was one of the things that before I was on my parents' insurance. And then now as I got older, once you reach 25, you can't be on there no more. So now that's kind of like a thing to where it's like, okay, now that's the hard part, is finding health insurance or finding a job for that security. And so that is funny that you brought that up, because I understand that on why you would actually just keep that as a side thing and not go full on with it. Yeah, for sure.
One thing I'm curious about, I'm sure some of the viewers might be, and I struggle with, is the fact that you said you get double taxed if you're self-employed. What?
So on your Social Security tax, the employer pays the same amount that you do into Social Security. So the employer pays, let's say you pay $200. They deduct that part out of your paycheck, goes into Social Security. Well, the employer has to match that. So as soon as you're self-employed, you have to pay both of those. You have to pay $400 because you're the employer and you're also the employee. So there's, don't get me started. Who knows? Chris Bush, Frisco Tax and Accounting, if you're listening and I screwed that up, just hit me up. But no, it's a real thing that's why I have a CPA. He just tells me those things, and it just makes sense to have the two incomes for a variety of reasons, and we'll go into a few more of them later. But taxes are just one of them.
Yeah, benefits are a big thing, I would say. As far as with my side hustle when I had it, obviously it didn't work out, so that's kind of why I'm passionate about speaking on it, because I feel like most people speak on their successes. Me personally, I'm very transparent, and I like to inspire people, and I think, I'm going to be honest, like most people when they start a side hustle will fail. It's just the statistic, and it's just the way things go. But I started my first side hustle at 16, started my next one at 18. They both failed. And, now fast forward a few years later, I'm in the process of doing a few different things at the same time. So I guess the biggest thing that I'm trying to say is you learn what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
God, especially at 16, bro. Like, that's young to be an
I didn't know what I
entrepreneur.
was doing. I just did it.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out, and that was cool. But it was just a matter of me, starting it, doing it, and I actually, like, it's not, I don't mean I just dipped my toes in it. Like, that shit started. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I had, Jamal Adams was wearing my hat in his newspaper when he was at LSU. You know what I mean? So stuff like that, I think, it's a part of life. It's just like life. Side hustles are just like life.
Yeah.
You'll fail, but I saw an interesting statistic. The average millionaire has, and you guys might not even know this, the average millionaire has 7 sources of income. How insane is that?
Yeah.
But makes sense.
That
though.
makes sense. Yeah, I was about to say that
For
makes
sure.
sense.
Most
but-
of them probably passive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
Probably 6 of them.
Yeah, and with you talking about your failures with stuff that you've had, like I think that's the main thing, and that kind of what you got to go through that, and
Yeah, you
even
have to.
even if, because there was times where you were selling what was the first thing that you had?
The first one was essentially a clothing line called Soul Allegiance,
Mm-hmm.
and the name of it was pretty much just a word. It was wordplay to pretty much just inspire people to stand alone and stop following the crowd.
Right.
So yeah, that was really my thing. I wanted to kind of again inspire people to stop, because man, at that age you see a lot of people do things because social media, friends, and I'm talking about alcohol, drugs, all the way to playing sports.
Yeah.
To starting a side hustle.
Yeah. The reason why I asked is because even when I started doing my thing, it was one of those things to where, like, I wasn't getting paid at first. You
Right.
And this is how me and Shaw met. Was he hit me up on social media and was like, "How much you charge?" And I remember I was with a particular person at the time, and I was like, "Yo, like, what do I like?" I would come home. I used to work at Hollister, and I would get off work, and then I would just go to the gym, and kids were just like, they knew me from high school. They're just like, "Hey, would you want to like train me? Can you show me a couple stuff?" So I'm like, "Yeah." So I would do it for free, and that's one of the things where you kind of got to decide. You have your purpose, you have your side hustle, and then you have business, right? And so one of the things was, like, when it comes to purpose that I think about is, does it feed these particular things? Your mind, your body, or your soul. And sometimes the purpose is, like, it feeds all 3 of those things. And so with side hustles, it's more so your body, which is like monetary. And when it comes to side hustle, you have to decide whether, is it, like we talked about, passive income, or, do I have to be there in order to make the money? And so I think you have to kind of decide on which you're going to be, which one you're going to go for. But just to reach back onto what you were saying, like, I was doing stuff for free for like a long time, a real long time. So you go through that stage of not saying that you're failing, but you just don't know your worth, and you don't know the things that you have to go through. And you're going to bump your head several times in order to break that glass ceiling. So it's not the business field. I think maybe if you were to go back to it and you stick with it long enough, it could probably, what I'm saying?
100%. That was always my issue, is just not sticking it out long enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to. Is it worth it?
Right. That's true too.
Because most millionaires, entrepreneurs will be like, "Oh, you have to stick it out. You got to go through the process." Yeah, you got to go through the process, but is the process worth it? Like, can you do something more? Can you find a side hustle more efficient?
Right.
So it's all about trying. But I wouldn't say, like, go on YouTube and listen to these motivational speeches that people put out and just go through the process if it's going to drive you insane. Like, photography, I'm sure, didn't drive you insane.
No, not at all.
Basketball, starting a organization where you're leading kids didn't drive you insane. It's more of a, I would say, passion.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Right. So I don't know. I see a lot of those YouTube videos and people reposting stuff on social media about all this, like, nonsense, and I'm like, dude, it's not always correct. You have to,
Yeah.
it depends on the situation, I would say.
Yeah, and I just like to go back a little bit. I didn't know you were like in the past life, like that dude at Hollister, no shirt on, like standing in the window.
No, you know what's crazy?
Like
So
modeling.
So when I got the job,
Yo, I think he was doing that.
no.
Yeah.
This is the crazy part
Yeah,
though. So
Sure.
when I got the job, which I wasn't necessarily proud of, I just had to get something for coming back. They were like, "Yeah, we're hiring for models." So I was like, first of
here
all,
we go.
I'm not really.
Here we go.
Oh no, this is the crazy. I didn't really want to do it, but one of my homegirls, she was like, "Yo, I'm working there or whatever." She ended up quitting like 2 weeks after. So I used to get stuck with a job. And they were like, "Yeah, we're hiring models." So I'm thinking I'm going to be the guy. I didn't want to, but I was like, I just need to find a job. So I was like, if I got to go out with my shirt off, then forget it. Because I'm not the type of person that I don't really like attention like that. So I was just like, whatever. It turns out I was just going to be at the front, folding clothes, like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so you weren't looking forward to it, but then when you found out you didn't have it, you were a little disappointed?
No. I was like actually kind of satisfied and relieved at the same time because I didn't want to do that, but I needed some income.
You knew you kind of wanted to do it.
If you really know me, I think if you know me,
you knew there'd be girls walking by like putting their phone number in your pocket.
I
as they
really
were
didn't have
walking
the
by.
body for that anyway. So I was.
Yeah, this dude was skinny.
I
as
was
hell.
skinny. I still am skinny, but
Hey, everybody's got a tight. That's a tight.
I was like skinny fat though, so that's the difference. But yeah, I was at Hollister for a while. That was my first job, was working at Hollister.
So yeah, CJ, so you said something. You said that people take on a side hustle for money because they need money. I'm going to disagree a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Because that's not necessarily why I took it on. I took it on because a little bit for the challenge. I wanted something I'd always wanted to do, and I'm like, let me give it a shot. Because if anything, it was the opposite of doing it for money. Because there was equipment to purchase. There's a lot of legal stuff to get in line to go into business, and so there's this cash outlay at the very beginning that can be prohibitive to somebody getting started, at least in the field of what they want to do for their passion. There's other ways you can start a side hustle that don't cost you anything to get started. But if you're really going to chase the passion, it's going to be a slower process, and it's going to probably cost you some money to get started. So, if you need money now, and I know we're in an environment right now, we're 6 months into COVID, right? And there's some people who need money now. So a side hustle to them means something completely different than like what I have. It means that you're probably going to be delivering for Amazon or driving for Uber or Lyft or something like that. So I don't know many people in my generation that are doing any of those things, but a lot of people that I interview that are in that generation, like we talked about last week, in the Gen Z, which generation you guys? Millennial, that's right. I forgot. I got stuck on the Gen Z. So the millennials, it's almost like every time I interview somebody, like on the side, they drive.
Yeah, I mean, I've driven on the side before, and it's actually for us like a legitimate side hustle. It's actually really good, actually, because I mean, again, you can do it whenever you want.
Super flexible.
Uber, it's super.
Uber
now,
flexible.
what I wouldn't suggest doing Uber is Uber Eats. That was a waste of time.
Oh, I saw an Uber Eats driver lose her shit the other day at Chipotle because I got there and the food, I never pick like earliest time. I always pick like a specific time. Like I want my food at 8:15. So I show up at 8:15 and there's like, no lie, like 20 people just standing there by the counter that are just waiting for bags. And the 7:30 people are still standing there. And there's an Uber Eats chick just losing her mind, waiting for food. Because I know she's losing money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
waiting for Chipotle.
Your time is just like...
Yeah, she's waiting for Chipotle to get their shit together. And she can't be delivering anything else. So I agree. Yeah, Uber Eats doesn't seem like...
Uber Eats, I did one call for that. Never again. I think I wasted like a whole hour for $7. I was like, yo.
Is it the restaurant that slows it down?
For me, it was the traffic. I was in the Highland Park area around lunchtime, and so I'm driving. If you know me, I'm like, I'm losing my shit. So I'm just like, yo, this is not. I almost canceled the whole meal, and I was just like,
And just gonna eat it?
No, just like,
what do you do with the food if you cancel it?
Yeah, just like I'm not doing it. I'm not dropping it off. But
wait, so you're gonna leave the people with no food?
Well, no, this is before I even got to the place.
Food?
This is before I even got to the food.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I was about to just cancel the whole.
Because you don't get. I've done Uber Eats when I was 16.
Yeah,
and you don't get paid from like your house to the restaurant. You get paid from the restaurant to the house. Okay. So you were talking about before you even picked it up.
Yeah, I ain't even picked it up
not
yet,
getting paid for
and it's
that.
already been 20 minutes, and so it's just like, yo, I'm very like time, so I'm time oriented because that time is expensive. So I'm just like, look, if I'm wasting this much time, like I might as well be working minimum wage at this point.
Right.
That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make some quick money and then get out.
So that explains why when I ordered Uber Eats last week, I'm watching the little car on the app. Like I got nothing else to do apparently besides watch the little car that's got my food in it. And she's got like 7 stops. I'm like, there's 6 stops before I get my food.
Wait, you can share an Uber Eats delivery?
Well, she was obviously stopping by everywhere else to pick up food because I watched her stop by a bunch of different places on the way to mine. My food was cold.
But you know what? The GPS, it trips a little bit. It does trip out a little bit. It said that she had 6 other
stops.
stops?
It said she had extra stops.
Oh, God.
I do Uber Eats, but I never had that.
She was efficient. Yeah. She figured out the secret sauce there. So,
I have to say something. I just have to say something.
okay.
I think the difference between my generation and your generation is, I'm going to vent for a sec. The fact that our generation is pretty much what we just said. Like, we want quick money. And we think money comes quick. And...
Oh, man, that's true.
You know, it's so annoying. Like, people will... And I'm a good example. I mean, with my first side hustle, I don't think it was because it didn't come quick, because I didn't do it for the money. But in a way, like, I would say most people will start something and won't finish it because the money's not immediate. Mm-hmm. But now, I'll sound like a hypocrite, but you have to follow the process.
Yeah.
You know, and again, if it's worth it, you have to stick to the process because, I mean, like you said, with photography, probably the first year or 2 was a lot of expenses for you. You were working for free, you know?
I think, oh, my bad. I didn't want to cut you off. You're good. I think, and that's what I was getting at as far as like the mind, body, and soul is when I was doing it for free, it wasn't feeding my body. It was feeding my soul and really just my soul because it just gave me peace. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm about, like collecting your pieces. And you have to understand with whatever you do, it's got to feed one of those 3 aspects. And so when I first started, it was feeding my soul. I would get done working, you know what I'm saying, and come train y'all, and I would enjoy that moment. And I think that was the biggest thing for me. And it just so happened that, I could find a way to, you know, monetize it and build a business out of it, or organization. I'd rather call myself an organization. But, and it just worked out that way.
So did you, is that how you got the name Mind, Body, and Soul?
Yeah, I think, well, not necessarily that. I just knew that
those
3 things is something that you live in throughout. And like, you know, it says, home is where the love is. There's a saying like that in one of my favorite songs. And that's just one of the things that I've always lived in. And that's my home, is my mind, body, and soul. That's something that we always live in. And that's something that you have to feed yourself daily, because it doesn't matter how much money you make. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money but still commit suicide. And it's just because they don't, I'm not going to say there's a lot, but that stuff does happen. Mm-hmm. So I think with that, they're feeding their body, they're making a lot of money, but their soul and their mind isn't being fed as well. So they feel like they have to, you know, let go at times.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and that's what made me come up with it, to be honest. Mm. So, yeah.
So, got a question. I was thinking about this yesterday when I was prepping. I was thinking, like the difference between your mental well-being when you're talking about your day job, as we'll call it, and side hustle. So what's the best part of your day job? Let's try to speak generally. The best part of a day job.
I think That's what I'm having trouble with. I don't, and that's my issue. I'm still trying to find that. I don't know. For me, I don't know.
So I'm talking about like a day job in this instance, like working for a company, a corporation.
Right.
Like, so what's the best part of that day? Is it like going home?
I think, yeah, and that's like for me. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, that's what it is, and it shouldn't be that way.
But I mean, how many people listening right now or watching are thinking, yeah, like legit, the best part of my day is when I'm out of there.
You know what? I can speak on this really well because about 3 years ago, I was working a regular job that I loved. Like, I loved every second of it. Driving to it, during it. Like, I loved everything about that job. Everybody I worked with. Then situations changed. Pretty much had a boss that went to a different company. So, I don't know. I just wasn't passionate about that particular regular job anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I chose a different regular job. And at that different regular job, I hated my life. Like, it was the worst thing ever. So for the people that are listening, like, I totally understand, like, working those 8 to 10 hours and looking for, like, checking the time every 10 minutes. Shit did not change, you know, and really just like, fuck, like, when do I get to go home? And I did that. I mean, I did that for a month, you know, and I know my worth. So I know most people, no offense, don't know their worth. So they'll keep doing it. And for me, 1 month in, I said, I'm out. So I quit and chose, you know, to work a different regular job. And I love it. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like you have to find the confidence and you have to trust yourself and trust vibes. Like, shit will work out. And if you, good karma, I think, exists. You know, if you're a good person, if you're genuine around people, opportunities will come in weird ways. It's so weird. So
So I get where you're going there, but it sounds like a struggle, man. You just talked about 3 different jobs in what sounds like a short period of time,
right? For
your day job, to find out what the best part of your day was. So, side hustle. What's the best part of the side hustle?
It's your passion, or in most instances, it's your passion.
So, yeah,
well, besides that, like, think about specific. Like, we just talked about, best part of the day job is like, when it's quitting time.
You
like
work your own schedule.
Okay, you work your own schedule. You're the boss, right? For me, it's my clients. Like, I'll never forget the time. So, in my photography business, I predominantly shoot weddings. I've shot almost 600 weddings to this point. And I had a mom. Of course, you have clients that are appreciative and love their stuff. But I had a mom call me after she got the pictures, and she was crying. Once she saw the pictures, she felt it captured the day in such a special way that she was tearful. And she called me and she's like, I just want to say thank you. Because everything else is gone. The day's over. The flowers are dead. Like, everything's gone. But we have these pictures, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for capturing that day for us. And you know what I've never had in my day job? I've never had my boss call me in tears going, dude, that P&L breakdown that you did, oh my God, it was so beautiful. Like, they just don't.
Yeah.
You don't get that kind of reward.
But have you had clients? Or, I mean, whatever you would call that at your job. Have you had clients tell you that?
Are we talking day job or?
Yeah, day job.
Have I ever had like a boss tell me like?
No. Like I don't know what.
My customers.
Yeah, your customers. Have they ever? Because I personally, in my current day job at least, I've had it a few times where customers will get a little bit emotional because of the, whatever service I provided. I was just, super genuine or whatever it may be.
Well, I think that's because you stand out in the way that you interact with people. You're very genuine. You're very likable, and when they get what you promised them, like that.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
They're appreciative, but not on an emotional level where they call you in tears, right? So, and I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody in what they do. That's just a benefit of my particular side hustle. So the point is that I'm trying to compare and contrast that you've got this day job that is, rewarding to what level, but then when you chase your passion, dude, it's a whole separate set of rewards that come with that. Mm-hmm. What about you?
As far as what my side hustle thing is, or I think with my side hustle would probably be my day job, and I think my thing is that like for my day job, it's more so. The only reason why I go in is really for the members, really, to be honest, because that's, and then some couple of my coworkers is why I stay there. Otherwise, I probably, and that's the biggest thing too with my day job. I don't think I give fully 100%, and that's probably where that's a mistake on my end too, because there's certain situations when you have your day job, you can grow, and you can go up a level, get promoted and stuff like that. But that's something that I'm struggling with. That's not good. Is wherever I'm gonna be at, I need to be present. I need to give 100%. And some people don't like their day job or sometimes even their side hustle. I'm not saying I enjoyed Uber, but I had some funny moments doing Uber. And some people don't even enjoy doing their side hustle. So I think that's the biggest thing is, and it all depends on what your circumstance is too. Because like if you need money, then you don't have time to be trying to. I mean, you should enjoy your stuff, but you don't really have time to be trying to enjoy. Right. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, if it's time for a cash grab, you need money now. You're going to have to go with a turnkey. You're going to have to go somewhere I can get on the app. Yeah. I can put in my driver's license. I can be driving the next day. Right. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys trust me enough to lay the top 5 reasons why you need a side hustle. Just kind of came up with them all on my own.
Before you get into that, I just want to shout CJ out. One thing I liked that you said there was that your day job is your side hustle.
Yeah. But
the norm is you have a day job and then you have a side hustle. But I mean, for the people out there, like your day job can be your side hustle. It's like start your own business.
Yeah, I just think I think that's hard because I ran into, and that's why I wanted to get Jeff's perspective on it, and he brought it up, was the insurance thing. Right. So that's the problem I run into. Like, great, do your thing, you know what I'm saying? But understand the pros and cons that comes with doing your side hustle as your main business, or even being lucky enough to have your purpose actually be your side hustle / business. Right. If you can have your purpose be your side hustle and business, then
you're blessed.
Yeah, you're blessed at that point. But the health insurance and just, all that stuff, that plays a big part. So let's go to that list.
Oh, you want to hear top 5?
I'm trying to hear that. Yeah, I'm trying to hear that.
Here we go.
I trust you.
You trust me? Okay, here we go. Number 1, your earning potential is limited without a side hustle. Big companies, you work for a big company, they've got other people to answer to. They've got shareholders. They've got overhead. It's structured. You have a cap on what you can make. You're either getting paid by the hour, right? You can't work over a certain number of hours. Or if you're on salary, you probably have a salary cap. You probably have a base salary. You probably have a bonus potential, but even the bonus potential is capped. So you can't earn much more than what's on that piece of paper at the end of the day. Versus side hustle, the more you work, the harder you work, in theory, the more potential you have to make money, and no one's going to cap it, right? Mm-hmm. Wages haven't grown, and they've been stagnant for years, according to entrepreneur.com. And even with a raise, you're probably not keeping up with inflation. So quite a few disadvantages there if you only have one income and you're working for a corporation. Number 2, you can take on the risk of building your business from scratch with a reliable income from your current job. So let's assume that we're not doing the cash grab, right? We're going to chase our passion. It's going to require some capital investment up front. You're going to have to buy some equipment, maybe some office space, maybe some legal services to get you set up.
Let me ask you something, John.
Mm-hmm.
This topic right here pisses me off. Why can a student get a loan to go to college, but it's like 10 times harder to get a business loan to start your own business? Most of these students get what, $200,000 loans? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't go to college, so how much are these loans? Like a lot, right?
Well, it just depends on what you're studying for. If you're going to be a vet or a doctor, yeah, you're going to rack up.
You can't go to the bank as a 16-year-old to a 20-year-old and get a $50,000 loan. If you want to buy a franchise, for example, on the cheaper end, maybe $100K. You can't get those, but why can you get a student loan?
It's a great question. Unless you research that and get back to me.
I figured you might have the answer to that.
I do not have the answer. My initial response is that you're many times borrowing from the government to get those student loans, and so they know they can garnish your wages and shut down your entire life to get their money back versus other types of loans where the collateral is not so.
This might be a reason why we don't have many side hustles.
Let's see if we can figure this out here. But I mean, the point is like if you have that main job,
you have the ability to pay for it.
You keep doing that evenings, weekends. You're putting that thing together and
7 p.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Friday. That's side hustle time.
Is that a real thing?
Gary Vee said that. He has his own podcast. He's an entrepreneur too. But yeah, he's always like, the people that complain about not having time, what are you doing from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
He caught me. I said, oh, God.
That's the biggest thing. So, like, listeners might not know, but I say it all the time. So my organization is called Mind, Body, and Soul. The one thing that COVID helped me is to give more attention to the mind aspect of my organization. So I had my kids, we would have like a little classroom, like a little class on Mondays. And we were talking about time. And things that I teach my kids is stuff that I'm learning at that specific time. So we're all kind of learning together in a way. And like time is one of those things where on your day job, you're working, let's say 9 to 5. How many hours is that? 8?
8. Yeah.
So 8 hours, you get 24 hours in a day. You got probably how much sleep do you get? Like on
6.
average? 6.
Not enough.
6, we'll say 6. What was that? 8 plus 6
I think 6 is pretty good.
14. So you got 10 hours left. And I mean, you got other things going on too. So it's just like, what are you doing? Like Gary Vee said, is in that 10-hour span. And for kids, it's video games, YouTube, whatever, right? So you're not pouring into their passion. For adults, maybe it's TV, listening to podcasts. Maybe that's pouring into whatever you're trying to do. Family, girlfriend, family time, whatever the case may be. Right. So you're not really spending any time building yourself or going into your side hustle. And I think that's where people get caught in that cycle.
Yeah.
Or that rat race of...
You have to find efficiency somehow.
Yeah, right. And I just think the day-to-day job takes a lot of time.
I think you do a great job of being efficient with your time. Because, I mean, you work a lot in your regular job, but, I mean, you're off weekends, but on the weekends you're working on your side hustle. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm curious, how do you find time for family, kids? I know kids are older now, but what about when they were, when they were younger?
Well, so in specifically wedding photography, the great thing about photography is you can pick any specific thing. You take pictures of food and make a solid living out of that. You just pick a specific genre. And the reason I picked weddings, number one, I originally in college was taking pictures of landscapes, and as cool as that was, nobody was paying me for it. But on a wedding, those are Saturday nights, right? So if you got a Monday through Friday gig, I mean, you're pretty much free Saturday nights. You can commit to taking as many gigs as you want. Every weekend you shoot 52 weddings a year. And so that in and of itself, it's kind of tucked away on the weekend. Nobody really sees it, doesn't interfere with your day job. And then you spend, maybe Sunday proofing pictures, or in the evening when you get home, that 7 p to 2 a.m., although I don't make it till 2 a.m., but you can proof a little bit and still do email correspondence, get the job done. So in that particular business, it fits nicely into a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 corporate job, because it just doesn't interfere with your Monday through Friday. I can't say that everybody's going to be as lucky, because a lot of business is done Monday through Friday when you're also trying to do your other job. So you're at your main job trying to, take care of your responsibilities for your side hustle. So are you answering emails for the company you're working for, or are you answering emails for your side hustle? So I get that that makes it tough. So
yeah.
When you get to number 3, it's a little bit redundant because we've already talked about number 3 is you can turn your passion into income. Number 4, redundancy is good. So if you think
Oh, go ahead.
If you think about most critical operating systems, think about a computer system, there's built-in redundancies to mitigate failures and to reduce the chance for like a total system failure. So why would you not do that for your personal income? Why would you only have one source of income? I can tell you, the company that I used to work for, the reason I left it was because I was looking at the P&Ls and stuff wasn't making sense. I've looked at enough of them through my lifetime, and I was like, just something's not right. Something is not right. I'm not, this is long-term not going to work out. The math doesn't compute. I left that company. A year later, they filed for bankruptcy. So if I had 2 sources of income at that time, had I still been there, at least would have had that second source of income, and that would have bridged the gap. Luckily, I was able to see that ahead of time and jump ship before it happened. But why wouldn't you build in some sort of backup plan for your income?
I think it's because most I've heard a lot of influencers, and I don't know what you would call them, but most people say, if you have a plan B, you're not working hard enough on your plan A, or it's a distraction to your plan A. I heard that a lot growing up. I think that's BS. I think the smartest people in the world have a plan B. You know what I mean? Like I mean, most billionaires, millionaires, if you asked every one of them, I'll bet all my money that 99% of them had a plan B.
Yeah, that's true. I think what people that say that, because I say that, it's not necessarily literal. It's more so your attitude. Like whatever. Okay, if this is your plan A, tackle it as if that's all you have.
Right.
But at the same time, make sure that you don't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket, type of thing. And it's kind of it's contradictory, but I mean.
Well, no, I think when you're talking about attitude, I think. It's helped me tremendously over the last 17 years, because no matter what day job you have, there's months where everything's great. Like everything's hitting, sales are good, clients are happy. And then there's other months where the wheels are falling off and you're like, dude, you start to worry if like they're going to start laying off people or closing whole divisions down.
Right.
And when you have that extra income in the background, that side hustle income, it's not that you don't care about your other sources of income, but it helps you not panic.
Yeah.
As soon as you panic, or as soon as you are in a position where you don't have options, if you lose your day job, let's say, and you don't have any redundancy, you have no backup, then you're in straight panic mode, right? And then that's when you make bad decisions. You make emotional decisions. Whereas when you have that backup plan, you can be more tactical. If it is a side hustle, I can tell you, it's a real lever. I say real, it's a figurative level that I can pull. If I want more business, I know what levers to pull on my side hustle, and I will have more business.
Right.
If I'm busy at my day job, I can turn that lever off, and I'm not as busy. So,
I mean, that literally sounds like what I would say is because I'm currently not in my sweet spot as far as side hustle goes. What you just said, I think would be my sweet spot. Like being able to control, The lever.
switch.
Yeah. I mean,
So my question to you is, right, on as opposed to turning that switch on and off whenever you need to. I think one of the things that I'm running into, that I've been running into a problem with, kind of since I made it into an organization, was like, would you ever think of, maybe you probably already have actually thought about like creating a team, or maybe you already do have a team that takes on that responsibility of, to where you can keep it on all the time, and
delegation.
Yeah. So there was a time a few years back where I had 2 other photographers that worked for me.
Okay.
And so any given weekend, I would have 1, 2, not usually 3, but more often 2 weddings going on any given day or weekend, and or weddings going on that I wasn't shooting.
Right.
And so that's when you're talking about more passive income, where you're not having to actually be there for the money to come in. And as cool as that is, at some point, this is about balance, right? Knowing that I'm not trying to turn my side hustle into my main hustle, it can get out of control. That was the year my CPA was like, "Bro, like, what are you doing? Why are you not jumping ship? Let's do this."
Let's do this.
Yeah, he's excited.
Yeah, he was in on it.
Yeah, he's excited for me.
Hire me.
Yeah. So
Let's do this.
It's not that I intentionally dialed it back, but again, it's the nature of the business. Like, you have these, and honestly, that was back in 2008. Everything was going crazy. Business was amazing. Money was fantastic. And then the bottom fell out, and the recession happened, and people had like uncles shooting their wedding. I had people canceling contracts. I had, so not only did the new contracts dry up, I was having to give money back to people who were canceling their weddings because my contract was really not set up in my favor. Since closed that loophole. But yeah, there's just a lot of lessons that you learn in this process the hard way. But you're right. I would hope 17 years in, you would know, you would have the finesse in your business to be able to level up and level down based on what you want to do. So there is a peace of mind when it comes to knowing that that's back there. And really, for me, when I look forward to the future, when I retire from my day job, just going full time on the side hustle when I retire. I don't ever plan on not working, but I plan on doing what I want to do fully.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point. Something to look forward to.
Yeah.
For retirement, not a real retirement. I mean, not the one we're accustomed to, at least.
Right.
And I think number 5, probably the most important, is that you're more valuable on your own. So many people with side hustles, according to entrepreneur.com, are making $250 to $500 an hour. So
that's my biggest thing, right? You can, I forgot, just using myself, I can say I make this amount an hour. Okay, but how many hours are you working? So it's like, right. That's one of the biggest things is like, people, whether you're looking at anything dealing with service, it's, and that's one of the things that I ran into also, was trying to maximize my time. Like, if I can have, I started off doing just training, and that was fun. That was like great. But if I'm trying to turn it into an organization, I had to maximize my time to where I didn't have to work so much. And so that's where teams got involved, and just clinics or like camps or whatever the case may be, to where I can have a lot more kids all at once. That way, when I'm done with that hour. But that can kind of be, those numbers can be manipulated just because of, not necessarily manipulated, but deceiving. People think, oh, they're working 8 hours a day and they're making $250 an hour. Like, how many hours are they working? So right. I think I don't want listeners to be like, oh, well, wow, like, side hustle, $250 an hour, working 8 hours. Like, no, that's not how it works.
That you're absolutely right. $250 is what you bill an hour, but that doesn't necessarily include what you're doing when you're not in front of the client. Right. There's contracts to sign. There's the communication from the very beginning when you first interact with the client to essentially sell them and close them on your product or service. And then there's the stuff on the back end to close it out and finalize everything. So, but yeah, even so, after if you're billing, I remember when I first started out. To your point earlier in the podcast, the first wedding I shot for free because I had like a bunch of pictures of landscape. I had stuff I had shot in college. I had this fancy book because I won a contest with Nikon that said I was like one of the best college photographers in the nation. I don't know. I think they just took $50 from me just so they could say that. But but I didn't have a wedding to show. So I was like, it was like a trade. I shot this wedding in a pasture.
Right.
There were like legit cows and horses in this pasture. There's a wedding going on. I wasn't getting paid anything, except I was getting work. I was getting like pictures to show for my portfolio.
Right, yeah.
And they had a photographer. And then pretty soon it was like, okay, I'm gonna charge $25 an hour. $50 an hour. And then you start your referrals. And pretty soon I got to the point right about 3 years where I was so busy, I was just overwhelmed. I was so busy. And then I figured out what would happen if I just like doubled my fee and shot half as many weddings.
Right.
I could make the same amount of money.
Same amount of money, yeah.
So I raised my rate. I doubled my rate. So I could, in theory, shoot half as many weddings. But for some reason, if you charge more, they think you must be amazing. So I got busier. And so I had to raise it again. So the number's kind of absurd. So I'm not gonna say it. But but you charge what
must be nice.
But again, that's just the number I bill per hour. It doesn't fully represent. That's not what I make every hour I actually work because I'm not charging them for the hours I sit in front of a computer in post production, editing, and contracts and accounting. Loading stuff into accounting spreadsheets and doing taxes, et cetera, because you're everything.
Yeah, and so that's also what I want to get at is like that's one of my downfalls is I feel like I have to be everything, and
you are.
Yeah, you are. Mm-hmm. And I think the route that I'm trying to take is if this is my main thing, I have to be okay with having a team and trusting others. But this is the problem I run into, and I was thinking, like, I remember I had my first interview. I was the one doing the interview, and or interviewing somebody, and it was just I was like, it was just so hard. Like I was like, I didn't feel like they fit the values or the beliefs that I had for my organization. And it was just like, I don't know if this is going to work out, and me trusting somebody. And so I think that's one of the issues I have is, take it back. While I had my own thing going, I was also working for other organization because I feel like when you start anything, you have to have experience working or doing research on your competitors and stuff like that. So I decided to work for another organization and see how they ran things, and they ran things flawlessly when it comes to communication. Parents love that, like communication throughout the week, when's practice, when's skills, when this, when's that, and that was one of my downfalls as far as communicating. So that helped me incorporate that. But even with that, it's just like you said, you work so much off the clock that if this is going to be your main thing, you have to be able to delegate that and hire people in a position to where they can excel and bring more business to your organization.
Well, I personally am curious. Jeff is probably the best delegator I've ever met in my life. So I'm curious, like what does it take to, if you had to give it CJ advice, for example.
I never thought about it. Yeah.
Like what do you look for when you find someone to trust in, or
put in a higher position? Yeah, when you put somebody in a higher position, what do you? Because I think what do you look at?
You've done it in your side hustle, but you've also done a lot of delegation in your regular job. So what does it take?
Well, I think that there's a lot to do in a day, right? And you've got to. If you ever heard of rocks, gravel, and sand, have you heard of the concept there? Mm-mm. If you take a vase and if you have all these rocks and some smaller gravel and then ultimately sand, what they represent as rocks are the big things that you need to do in a day. The gravel is less important things that could be done today, but if you need to push it, it could be pushed to the next day. And then sand is just that busy work, those idle conversations, the things that just waste time, the things that don't amount to anything at the end of your day. And so there's a great YouTube video. We should link to it in the podcast notes. But they ask people to fit the rocks, gravel, and sand on this table into a vase. And what happens is if you pour all the sand in first, then you're not able to fit the rocks and the gravel in because that sand just fills it up. However, if you get the rocks, the big stuff done in your day, the most important things done, if you get those things done first, then you get the gravel, you pour that sand in. The sand fills in all the little gaps and everything fits easily into the vase, right? So what I'm looking for is the sand. I could give away that sand. I can give that to someone else. If it's busy work, if it's digging into a report, if it's splicing a report every morning to send out to the team to say, hey, here was our day yesterday, here's our productivity, here are the metrics that we need to, here's what we did yesterday, here's what we need to chase after, then I give that sand to someone else because, of course, I can do that, but that's not a rock.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So give away that sand. And then as your team members that show that sand is like no problem, you can start giving them some of the gravel. And that allows you to take care of the rocks. And when you think about your day in terms of those things, I print out my itinerary at the beginning of every single day. And I know what my rocks are. These are things that definitely have to get done before I go home. Everything else, the gravel and the sand, that can get pushed, but I have to get those rocks done. Well, do I really have to exit the day deciding not to get the gravel or the sand done? No, I can give those things to other people. And how exciting is it when your boss trusts you to give you a task and you can show them that you can execute it?
Right.
Right? And then when they reply back that you did a great job with it, even though it may not be a huge task, but dude, he trusted me in something, and I.
Then you start building,
right?
Damn,
yeah, that's crazy.
Free game.
So that's really what it is. It's born out of time management. You have to do it at some point.
But what if? But I feel like on a ground level, you have to initially trust the person.
How do you put that? How do you? It's kind of tough because I'm trying not to. How do you decide which person to not put the most responsibility, but put them in that certain position, if that makes sense?
Well, it's a good question. It's actually there's a situation that you can get into where you continuously go to the same people. You have your go-to people, and in an organization where you have quite a few people working for you, you can unintentionally have this pet on the side that you're always given tasks to because you know it'll get done. You can trust them. But at some point, you have to be aware enough to say, there's other people on the team that really want to do more than what they're doing and would actually really love it if you trusted them enough, and would get so excited if you just asked them to do what seems to be just the smallest task, and then they crush it, and you're able to say that was awesome. So it really, when you get down to it, the way that comes about is, as a leader, you max out. You really do. You get to the point where you're so used to just taking on everything. That's what you've built your career on. You got to this place because you were a good doer. Maybe you were unloading trucks. Maybe you were stocking groceries. Maybe you're doing something. But you were a good doer, and at some point you get into management, and you've got to learn how to shift. But at the end of the day, it's because you execute. You can take on a heavy load, and that's what impressed everybody. This dude, man, you can give him anything, and he knocks it out. And at some point, you get to a level where you just can't physically do it, and you have to let it go, or you'll fail.
So to the point to where you say, for listeners that didn't quite understand, and hopefully I got this right, is so you talk about the doers, and then when you start getting into like management and placing in certain people, I think about when it comes to basketball is like, so you have You have somebody who was once a player who had to do all the doings and, run the suicides, run, whatever the case may be. And then once you become a coach, it's a lot easier to understand the player's perspective and where to either how to recruit or how to gain that. One thing that I pride myself on is gaining that connection to each player. So I think for you, I think you definitely, in Shaw's point, you do a great job of connecting to each person. Is maybe because, like you said, you've been the doer before.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
yeah, for sure. When when you've sat at their desk and worn their shoes, you know exactly what they're going through. So that always helps. And they're.
I think you do a good job of leading by example as well. And I think that'd be some not good advice from me, but from the situation for you, like. Most of the kids, when they see you doing something good, they're gonna want to do whatever you're doing, and that's actually a thing about kids. Most kids are copycats, as per se.
Right.
I think it would be easy for you to, hopefully. I mean, for example, like me and Stafa.
Yeah.
I feel like you would be able to trust us to.
Oh yeah.
Handle a certain situation.
I've counted on y'all before.
Yeah. So that's just because you were leading by example. Whatever you did, we kind of followed in your footsteps. So yeah, I think man,
that was a great point.
Yeah,
low key thing. I don't know if y'all got some.
Yeah,
because Jeff, I'm not gonna lie, you kind of
that was
you kind of hit that pretty good.
Gravel sand. I
that was really.
I learned
good.
something myself, so I hope the viewers learned something.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to link that in the show notes because it is pretty cool. And once you see how it's so simple, it's almost...
It really helped me like that, and that's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Now, the hard part is just transferring that into your real life, because, at the end of the day, I feel like for me, for example, if I was in your shoes, even after you told me, I would have a little bit of fear of putting that responsibility on someone that I know that I can just do flawlessly.
No, because when you're talking about sand... Nobody notices. You notice because you want to get everything done. You're that perfectionist, right? You want to get everything done that day.
The thing is, I don't know if you have the time to get all that stuff done.
Well, you're not. That's why you give it away.
Yeah, so you have to give it away.
And if they screw up the sand, it's a coaching moment, and they'll fix it, and they'll be better for it.
Yeah.
And
that's a good ass point.
And the company or the client or the P&L's not on the bottom line. Right, because they didn't snip a screenshot the right way, and whatever. Right, so it's, but it's just if you're dialed into atomic habits, it's if you learn how to start your day identifying your rocks, then that's really the simplest way to do it. So, I don't know that we have too much more here, at least on my side of it. Anything you guys want to talk about before we get into what the sweet spot of this is?
No, not necessarily. I think.
So
I think we touched on a lot.
Yeah. So what's the sweet spot? Where?
I think I'll go first. I think for me, the sweet spot would be to, like you said, be able to pull a lever that obviously have a day job. Have a side hustle where you have the ability and the luxury of pulling the lever to bring in more business and vice versa. But I think my personal sweet spot, hopefully, I accomplish one day, is being able to say that my side hustle has exceeded the amount of income that my regular job makes, or my primary job makes. So, that's my sweet spot. That's my goal in life, is to have multiple sources of income, and one of those extra sources is making more than my salary, or whatever you would call it, commission or whatever. So, that's me personally.
Yeah, I would say my sweet spot is would probably have to be one, definitely being able to make your purpose your side hustle, and then turning that side hustle into actual business. And basically, what I mean by purpose is feeding both of the three aspects, the mind, body, and soul, and then, building that side hustle aspect and then turning it into something that you can have passive income on, and also if you want to get on the ground or into the field, still make money that way. I would say, and that's one of the things that I'm struggling with, is finding that, because everything that my business does and my organization has to do, I have to be on the front lines. And I would like to get to a point to where I can have coaches or different trainers or whatever, and I still lead maybe, or I still overlook, but I don't have to be at every single game, every single skills, that would be my sweet spot.
How, on a scale from 1 to 10, how close to it are you?
I would say 5, and I've been doing it for 7 years. But one thing that people don't understand is you have to bump your head. Like, don't get discouraged by any means. If it's really what you want to do, you're gonna have to sit back. There's been times where I've been real high for my business. There's been times where I've been really low, and you have to take those hits. You have to take those punches. You have to learn how to roll with the punches. And so I think with that, don't get so caught up in. Have confidence in yourself, and don't look at it as you're taking a risk on yourself, or don't look at it as a risk. Because one thing that I look at it as is, it's funny, you posted a song, Notorious B.I.G., Jeff, you know who that is, right?
Oh, yeah, I know.
So he has a song where, I pulled up the lyrics. He said, picture a person hiding, he used another word, picture a person hiding my life in that man's hands while he's just deciding. And it's one of those things where when you have your day-to-day job, you never know. The pandemic, for example, a lot of people have regular jobs, but when that pandemic hit, they didn't have a say-so on what they could do or what they couldn't do, the hours thing. So I think you just have to be able to take that stuff with a grain of salt and keep on moving. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if you got this far in the podcast, you either already have a side hustle or you're interested enough to listen to what we have to say about it. So I think where we are here in the sweet spot is you need to identify what are you going to do? Like, if you don't know what you're going to do, put some thought into it, decide what it is you're going to do, and then get into action. Take that first step, whether you're going to be a florist, a pet groomer, an Uber driver, whatever it is, it's time to take that first step. And if we were able to give you enough insight or encourage you to actually take that first step today, then if even just one person does that, then I feel pretty good about the time we've spent here today. We thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you're able to take away some meaningful content that allows you to find your sweet spot. If you like what you heard today, please make sure to share this podcast with your friends and your family. If you want to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Instagram at thesweetspot.podcast. That's at thesweetspot.podcast. Take care, and we will see you next week. Good job, guys.
All right, fellas.
Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.